Welcome to another episode of the All Tenth Podcast. I'm your co-host Josh West. With me, as always, Clay Harris. And today, Clay, we're continuing our series about compensation. However, we're stepping outside of just cash compensation and what are the non-cash compensation and benefits that companies can consider to have a healthier environment and also help with retention. And this episode of the All Tenth Podcast is powered by Streti, the EOS software people love. With EOS Pure Tools, plus additional collaboration and communication tools, you can run on EOS and execute on daily work all in one place. Learn more at Streti.com. That's STRETY.com.
We've been talking about this episode for a minute. We've been talking about compensation on the past few episodes. And of course, most people love dollar bills. But there's a bunch of other ways that people get compensated at work. And so we thought we'd spend some time sharing some experiences around ways that we've seen people do the non-cash comp stuff. So Josh, where do you want to start, man? Because this is like this is a big pile of mess. There's a bunch of everybody does a little bit differently, and it feels like the Wild Wild West. So where do you want to start?
And I think that's the point, is that this has got a much broader pool to pull from. Our listeners are all over the place geographically. They are at different stages of their organizational journey. You can do different things when you're only 10 people that you can't do when you're 100 or 1,000 people. And this is more of something I think that when you take a clarity break or you go for a windy walk, think creatively. Think about the different ways that you could provide some benefits or perks or just nice things within your organization that really just help just have a better overall environment. And so I think the things that we're going to talk about today, it's, take the things away from this episode that might work for you and leave what doesn't. We're not here to be prescriptive and tell you that you need to employ all of those things. And just as an example that I'll give you from one of my past life here is we were working in Manhattan, in New York City, one of the greatest cities in the world. And it's kind of nasty in the wintertime there. Not fun. You step off of a curb into 1.5 feet of slush. Like, it'll really wake you up in the morning. And so what we did when it came summertime, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we had summer hours. So on Friday, we ended at lunch, and everyone knew that. So if you needed to work a little bit more Monday through Thursday, get in a little bit early on Friday, because if you wanted to get out to Long Island that afternoon or whatever you needed to do, we had summer hours on Friday. It wasn't every Friday, like I said, only during the summer. But that was something specific that made sense for New York City and for where we were. And I'll just use that as the first example of many that I think that we're going to talk about where it's very specific in that way. What's happened in your past, Clay?
Yeah, well, before I kind of share a story or two, I think one of the things that people think of often when we're talking about benefits is like health insurance, PTO, all those sorts of things. That what you just described as a great kind of perk benefit, non-cash comp way to do things. There's a gazillion ways to do them. Before you start kind of diving into this, we're calling them non-cash because we're not sending dollars to our people, but they cost money.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things I just want to be really careful with when we talk about these things, not think that they're free. They are not free. And so before you start thinking about a lot of this stuff, like, man, if you don't have a really good handle on margin, gross margin, profitability, cost of goods, all the other things that are going in the business, and you don't understand whether or not it's good, man, can you get your hands around your performance, please? Because what I promise you is that there are industry organizations, trade groups, peer groups that can help you understand whether or not you can afford to do some of these things.
Yeah.
And if you, right. And so like I think one of the things that we're assuming here is that there's a lot of financial health. We've had episode after episode on understanding your dollars and cents and all those sorts of things. But I just want to like start this by saying like, man, if you're not making any money, you need to buckle down. There's no half days off on Friday if we're not making any money. Come on.
That's very true.
Yeah. So that's one thing. I do think, and I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to talk about this because it's been a very long time since I've had to make the decision from not offering kind of health insurance to offering health insurance. And I think the world is wildly different now than it was the 20 years ago where we made that first decision with the ACA marketplace and all those sorts of things. There's a bunch of really smart people out there that can help you make that decision. But when I think about these things first is like, man, people need to take care of their bodies and their health. And if the choice is between pizza on Fridays or like helping people put money in the HSA, I'm leaning towards the HSA. Right. So like
Absolutely.
all these things are kind of presuming that some of the fundamental things are there. But and I'm going to offer a different tangent. The other one is like you have core values in your organization. Do your kind of celebratory incentives, perks, benefits, things reinforce your core values. You walk around saying like, we put people first. Everybody's working 70 hours next week. Hear the conflict, right? So like you have like a little trick on your VTO to tell you, to guide you a little bit. What are the things that make you unique when it comes to like recruiting? What makes you stand out? Those are your core values. Embrace them, use them to guide some of your perks. My favorite thing that I did in the 25 years that I ran an IT services company is every month at the beginning of the month, I sat down with a stack of cards and wrote birthday cards to not only my team members, but their spouses, their partners, and their kids. And on the kids' birthday cards, I threw a $10 Target gift card in them. And I can't tell you how much joy that gave me. It's actually one of the things I miss most. It was so much fun. I wrote the same thing in every freaking card. But like to remember people's names and think like, oh my God, this is the 8th year in a row I've written this kid a birthday card. That was cool, man. And I know they loved it because it was like one of the biggest pieces of feedback I got. And it cost, a stamp and a, $3 card. And then for the kids, a $10 gift card in there. And we had 100 employees. I was writing 20 cards a month to families. And it took me 30 minutes. But God, did it make an impact on their lives. Well, that's presuming a bunch. They really liked it.
They really liked it. I'm sure they did.
You know what kids like doing? Going to Target and buying a toy.
Yeah.
They just do. And so like those sorts of, it doesn't have to be, I guess my point is it doesn't have to be expensive. Right? It doesn't have to cost you a ton of money. It might cost you a little bit of time and effort. But those sorts of little things can really kind of bring your core values to life, whether it's half a day off on Friday because we really value work-life balance. So like go enjoy this nice weather. Right. Anyway, sorry. I got almost got verklempt there.
No, all very inspired, Clay. And, there's, for our listeners out, when Clay and I talked about this episode, not a lot of structure on this one. We were very surprised on where this one is going to go. So I'm just gonna ride that wave with you. And it was something that I thought about in this episode, and you did a great job really outlining, like, hey, make sure your house is in order before we start talking about these things. But also, I was prepared to talk about some things where it also, as you said, it doesn't have to be expensive. So I'm sure that our listeners out there have also heard that sitting is the new smoking. And we sit down a lot at a lot of these, organizations where, we're in front of a screen all day. And you could institute something like walking meetings instead. Doesn't cost you anything. And it's nice, it's healthy. And so you even think about that as like, I thought this was about non-cash compensation. But here again, if the spirit is about just having a better working environment and how we work and some of the things that are offered there, we don't have to sit there in a conference room. And by the way, my brain works really good when I'm walking. And anytime I'm working on something difficult, I go for a walk by myself, and that usually solves it. So I think there's a lot of benefit that could come from things like that. And so, to your point about it doesn't have to necessarily cost a lot of money or maybe nothing at all, you can be creative about how you work and what some of those other benefits are. But continuing along that line of health, yeah, okay, walking meeting won't cost you anything. Standing desk, it's also pretty good, but that's going to cost you a little bit when we get into, all right, if we're offering mental health resources, if we need that, what are our healthcare plans? So there is a wide spectrum on just health and wellness that you can think about. And by the way, I think that pays dividends back to the organization in terms of just having a healthier workforce.
Yes, for sure. This is why a lot of like bigger companies and even smaller companies now are like not only like helping with the monthly premium on health insurance, but maybe even throwing money into an FSA or a HSA or things like that. And again, that's there's a myriad topics there to talk about, but I don't want to get into the politics of it, but man, we got to keep people healthy. We employ people, right? And so it's interesting. I was having a conversation with, I think it's sometimes we kind of fall into this trap of like companies can be evil. Man, we're getting philosophical here, or I am, right? But man, I don't work with a single client. I work with every single one of my clients cares deeply about their people. Like this kind of, and so the fact that we're having this conversation and the fact that you're listening to it, listener, means that like, man, we care. We want to be better. All these sorts of things. We have to make sure that we're economically sound so that this, some of this is, I used to make this joke all the time, is like, sometimes if you don't tell people what you're doing and what the economics of it are, they just kind of have this picture in their mind that you leave the office and you like Scrooge McDuck, you go back home and you jump into your silo filled with gold coins and swim around for a while. I don't know that many people who are running the businesses who we're working with who are going home and like swimming in their gold coins. They're really fighting hard to figure out how to pay for growth, how to pay for maybe a debt that got put on the business as they had some huge initiative, figuring out how to hire the next person in a way that makes sense to contribute to the company, how to keep people happy, how to make it so that this is a place where they want to be, not a place they have to be. Every entrepreneur that I know that's running a great company cares so freaking deeply about the company and the people that make it. They don't think of it as separate. It is made up of their friends and peers. Anyway, I don't know why I went down that tangent. Anyway, because I think we're all trying to do great work. We're all trying to make something great for our people. And I want to latch on to something that you said earlier, just to kind of share how these things might evolve as the company grows. When the IT company was really small, we had, every time someone had a birthday, they got to pick where we would order lunch, and we'd have everybody, the 10 of us would sit in the conference room and share Pizza Hut, right? Or whatever, As we got bigger, that turned into a birthday month lunch, right? Where it's like, hey, everybody who was born in May, we're bringing in lunch for all 75 people who work in this office. And that was a big to-do, with lines around the office, lining up to get their whatever. And at some point, that kind of felt impersonal. And so we changed it to like, hey, go out to birthday lunch with your team. And so it went back to like an 8-person lunch, right? Or whatever. And then maybe I think at some point it then evolved into like, hey, HR team, you just have a bucket of money. Can y'all decide how to best celebrate people? So it went from like me going and picking up Pizza Hut, right? To an admin ordering lunch for the whole office, to us like kind of delegating that down, but trying to keep the spirit. This changes over time. One of the things that I get worried about these things is that you start doing it once and it feels like something that will never change, and now it's owed. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I'm always really thoughtful about, I want our listeners to always be really thoughtful that, hey, we're going to be doing this thing. Here are the things that might make us have to stop it. here are the things that we're trying to accomplish by doing this. We're not doing this because we think we owe you lunch. We're doing this because we want to celebrate you being born. And if that's not the right way to do it next year, we're going to do something different. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's a little.
No, as you say, Clay, and that point is well heard and well made, where it is going to change over time. So if you're listening right now, even if you've been inspired by one of these ideas, what I can tell you is that you're likely to eventually get to a point where that's not going to scale. And it's going to change and it's going to evolve. And I'll come back to, clarity breaks. And when you take those, think back through, okay, how are the ways that we're celebrating people now? And, as the organization grows, how do some of those things need to change? To round this out, Clay, it's worth mentioning to our listeners, just think through different large-scale categories, whether it's lifestyle, professional development, all things health and wellness. Perhaps it's about convenience or just some smart time off. There's lots of different categories of ways for you to think about how you can, add just a little bit extra and take care of your people. And with that, there's really two things that I want to end my portion of the podcast on. One that is near and dear to me, related to time off and PTO, and that is, hear me now. The Friday after Thanksgiving is a national holiday. Just stop it, okay? No great deal has ever closed that day. Requiring your employees to use PTO to take off the Friday after Thanksgiving is just hot garbage. We've got families, we've got friends. We likely need to travel far and wide to get to grandma's house to be able to take advantage of that full holiday weekend. Black Friday and fighting over a television is over. Cyber Monday won, and now it's a 10-day event to get your share of wallet online. Just stop it. The Friday after Thanksgiving is a holiday. The second thing that you can do for your organization, well, I've got Clay on a roll now, is one of the best gifts and benefits that you can give to the organization is EOS related. We talk about having the right people in the right seats, the right people who consistently share and exhibit your core values, that are in the right seats, that can perform the function and the roles that they're assigned to. And when someone is not a right fit, don't delay. And one of the best benefits you can give is to continue to aspire to have 100% right people in the right seats in your organization. What do you got, Clay?
Man, the only clip we need from this episode is you ranting about the Friday after Thanksgiving. That's some crazy Josh West cares about some crazy shit. Yes. But also I agree. So here we are. Man. Let's see. I think when we talk about being a great boss isn't a 4-letter word that we should avoid. Great bosses, people remember great bosses. We say to two things to people. One, you got to care a lot about being better. And the fact that you're listening to this podcast means you're trying to get a little bit better. And the other thing we say, two things, you got to care about getting better and you got to care about people. I think this is a way that you bring that caring about people to life. Do it in a way that you can afford. Do it in a way that resonates with your people. Do it in a way that resonates with the culture you're creating. And if you do all that, you can't go wrong. So anything else to add before I wrap it up here, Joshy?
Take them home, Clay.
Cool. Well, my name is Clay. His name is Josh. We're EOS implementers, and we love helping entrepreneurs build great businesses. If you liked this episode, and we hope that you did, or if you just search for Thanksgiving-related podcast episodes, either way, we'd love for you to rate and subscribe. We're available anywhere you can find podcasts. If you want to see us, you can see us on YouTube and Spotify also. But we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Joshy.
Bye, Clay.